Have you ever felt like life is passing you by? Like you're always chasing after something, but never quite catching it? What if I told you that the key to happiness, peace, and success isn't in the future, but right here, right now? This might sound simple, but it's a powerful truth that can change your life forever. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to share with you the most important spiritual lesson I've ever learned: the power of living in the present moment. Now, you might be thinking, what's the big deal about the present moment? Well, let me tell you, it's everything. The present moment is all we ever have. It's where life happens. It's where we find joy, make decisions, and create our future. But most of us spend our time lost in thoughts about the past or worries about the future. We miss out on the richness of life that's happening right now. This idea of living in the present isn't just some feel-good advice. It's a practical, life-changing tool. When you learn to be fully present, you become more aware, more focused, and more alive. You start to see opportunities you might have missed before. You become better at handling stress and solving problems. Your relationships improve because you're really there with people, not just physically present while your mind wanders. But here's the thing: staying in the present moment isn't easy. Our minds are like time machines, constantly jumping between memories of the past and dreams or fears about the future. We get caught up in regrets about things we can't change or anxiety about things that might never happen. This mental time travel robs us of our peace and power. Think about it. How often have you missed out on enjoying a beautiful moment because you were worried about something that might happen tomorrow? Or how many times have you made a situation worse because you were reacting based on past hurts instead of what's actually happening now? This constant mental chatter is exhausting. It's like having a radio playing in your head all the time, and you can't find the off switch. It affects everything: your mood, your decisions, your relationships, even your health. When we're not present, we're not fully living. We're on autopilot, reacting to life instead of truly experiencing it. But here's the good news: it doesn't have to be this way. You have the power to change this, and that's what we're going to explore together. So, what exactly do we mean by living in the present moment? It's about being fully engaged with what's happening right now, instead of being lost in thoughts about the past or future. It's about experiencing life directly, without the filter of your mind's constant commentary. Imagine you're taking a walk in nature. When you're truly present, you notice the feel of the breeze on your skin, the sound of birds singing, the scent of flowers in the air. You're not thinking about your to-do list or replaying an argument in your head. You're just there, fully experiencing the walk. This might sound simple, but it's actually quite profound. When you're fully present, you're not carrying the weight of the past or the worry of the future. You're free to experience life as it is, without added stress or anxiety. This is where true peace comes from. Being present doesn't mean you never think about the past or plan for the future. It means you do these things consciously, when it's helpful, rather than being constantly pulled away from the now by your wandering mind. Now, let's talk about why this matters so much. Living in the present moment isn't just about feeling good, although that's definitely part of it. It can transform every area of your life. When you're present, you're more focused. This means you do better work, make smarter decisions, and solve problems more creatively. You're not wasting mental energy on things you can't control, so you have more brain power for what's actually important. Being present also makes you a better listener and communicator. When you're really there in a conversation, not just waiting for your turn to speak, you understand people better. You pick up on things you might have missed before. This leads to stronger relationships, both personal and professional. Presence is also key to reducing stress and anxiety. Most of our stress comes from worrying about the future or regretting the past. When you learn to stay in the present, you realize that right now, in this moment, you're actually okay. This doesn't mean you ignore real problems, but it helps you deal with them more calmly and effectively. Living in the present can even improve your physical health. When you're present, you're more in tune with your body. You notice when you're hungry or full, when you need rest, when you need to move. You make better choices because you're listening to what your body actually needs, not just following habits or reacting to stress. So, how do we actually do this? How do we learn to live more in the present moment? It's a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. But don't worry, I'm going to give you some simple, practical ways to get started. The first step is simply to notice. Start paying attention to where your mind is throughout the day. Are you thinking about the past? Worrying about the future? Or are you here now? Don't judge yourself for what you notice. Just observe. One powerful way to bring yourself into the present is to focus on your breath. Your breath is always happening now, so it's a great anchor to the present moment. Try taking a few deep breaths, really feeling the air moving in and out of your body. Whenever you notice your mind wandering, gently bring your attention back to your breath. Another technique is to engage your senses. Take a moment to notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This simple exercise immediately brings you into the present moment. You can also practice presence in everyday activities. When you're eating, really taste your food. When you're walking, feel your feet touching the ground. When you're talking to someone, really listen to what they're saying. These small moments of presence add up and can dramatically change your experience of life. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds great, but my mind is always racing. I can't just turn off my thoughts. And you're right, you can't just flip a switch and suddenly be present all the time. It's a practice, and it comes with challenges. One big challenge is our addiction to distraction. We live in a world of constant notifications, endless social media feeds, and 24/7 entertainment. Our brains have gotten used to constant stimulation. Being present can feel boring at first, but stick with it. As you practice, you'll start to notice the richness and depth of the present moment. You'll find that real life is far more interesting and satisfying than any distraction. Another challenge is dealing with difficult emotions. Sometimes we avoid the present moment because it's uncomfortable. Maybe we're feeling anxious, or sad, or angry. It's tempting to try to escape these feelings by losing ourselves in thought or distraction. But being present doesn't mean you have to like every moment. It means being with what is, even when it's tough. As you practice this, you'll find that you become better at handling difficult emotions. They pass more quickly when you don't resist them. You might also worry that being present means you can't plan for the future or learn from the past. But that's not the case at all. When you're grounded in the present, you can think about the past or future in a more balanced, productive way. You're not lost in regret or anxiety. You're consciously choosing to reflect or plan, and then returning to the now. Learning to live in the present moment is a journey. It's not about perfection. You won't suddenly be present all the time, and that's okay. The goal is to be present more often, to catch yourself when you drift away, and to gently bring yourself back. Start small. Try to be fully present for just 1 minute a day, then gradually increase that time. You might be surprised at how quickly you start to notice changes in how you feel and how you interact with the world. Remember, every moment is a new opportunity to be present. If you realize you've been lost in thought for hours, don't beat yourself up. Just take a deep breath and come back to now. That's the practice. As you get better at being present, you'll start to notice some amazing changes. Colors might seem brighter. Food might taste better. You might find yourself laughing more, worrying less. You'll probably find that you're more patient, more understanding, more creative. You'll also start to see life's challenges differently. When you're fully in the moment, problems often don't seem as overwhelming. You're able to respond to what's actually happening, not to all the what-ifs your mind can generate. Being present also helps you appreciate the good things in life more fully. When you're not always chasing the next thing or comparing now to the past, you can really enjoy what's here. You might find a new sense of gratitude for simple pleasures, a cup of coffee, a conversation with a friend, a beautiful sunset. Here's something really cool about living in the present moment. It doesn't just change your life, it can change the lives of those around you. When you're more present, you're a better listener, a more attentive parent, a more supportive friend. Your calmness and focus can be contagious, helping others feel more grounded too. Think about how it feels to be around someone who's really present with you. They're not checking their phone every few minutes or obviously thinking about something else. They're right there with you, fully engaged. It feels good, doesn't it? That's the gift you give to others when you practice presence. Being present can also make you a more effective leader, whether that's at work, in your community, or in your family. When you're grounded in the now, you make better decisions. You're more aware of what's really going on, not just what you think is going on. You're better at spotting opportunities and solving problems creatively. Let's look at some real-life examples of how living in the present moment can make a difference. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. Normally, you might get frustrated, thinking about how you're going to be late, or rehashing an argument you had earlier. But what if instead, you used this time to practice presence? You could focus on your breath, notice the colors of the cars around you, or listen to the music on the radio with full attention. Suddenly, the traffic isn't a problem to be solved or escaped. It's just what's happening now, and you're okay with it. Or think about a difficult conversation you need to have with someone. When you're fully present during that conversation, you're not busy planning what to say next or defending yourself. You're really listening, really trying to understand. This presence can completely change the outcome of the conversation. You might hear things you would have missed otherwise. You might find a solution you wouldn't have thought of if you were caught up in your own thoughts. Being present can even change how you experience pain or discomfort. If you have a headache, for example, instead of getting caught up in thoughts like, "This is awful, when will it end?" you can simply observe the sensation with curiosity. You might notice that the pain isn't constant, that it changes and shifts. This doesn't make the pain go away, but it can make it more bearable. Presence can also transform mundane tasks. Washing dishes, for example, can become a mindful practice instead of a chore. You can feel the warmth of the water, the texture of the dishes, the smell of the soap. You're not rushing to get it over with. You're fully engaged with what you're doing right now. Now, you might be wondering if there's any scientific evidence for all of this. The answer is yes. Research in neuroscience and psychology has shown some amazing benefits of mindfulness and present moment awareness. Studies have found that regular mindfulness practice can actually change the structure of your brain. It can increase the density of gray matter in areas associated with learning, memory, emotion regulation, and perspective taking. This means that as you practice being present, your brain literally becomes better at it. Research has also shown that mindfulness can reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. It's been found to lower blood pressure, improve sleep, and even boost immune function. Some studies have even suggested that mindfulness can slow cellular aging. In the workplace, mindfulness has been linked to increased productivity, better decision-making, and improved job satisfaction. It's no wonder that many successful companies now offer mindfulness training to their employees. But you don't need to wait for scientific proof to start experiencing the benefits of presence. You can start right now, in this very moment. Now that we understand why living in the present moment is so powerful, let's talk about how to actually do it. Don't worry, you don't need any special equipment or hours of free time. You can start right where you are, right now. The first step is simply to pause. Just stop for a moment and take a deep breath. Feel the air moving in and out of your body. Notice where you are, what you can see, hear, and feel. This simple act of pausing can instantly bring you back to the present moment. Next, try to bring your full attention to whatever you're doing. If you're eating, really taste your food. Notice the flavors, textures, and smells. If you're walking, feel each step. Pay attention to how your body moves. If you're talking to someone, really listen. Try to hear not just their words, but the tone of their voice, their facial expressions. Remember, being present doesn't mean you never think about the past or future. It means you choose when to do that, instead of letting your mind wander all the time. When you notice your thoughts drifting away from the present, gently bring your attention back to what's happening now. One powerful tool for staying present is mindfulness meditation. This doesn't have to be complicated. Just sit comfortably, close your eyes if you want, and focus on your breath. When your mind wanders, and it will, just notice that and bring your attention back to your breath. Even a few minutes of this practice each day can make a big difference. You can also use everyday activities as opportunities to practice presence. When you're brushing your teeth, for example, really pay attention to what you're doing instead of letting your mind wander. When you're waiting in line, instead of getting impatient, Use the time to practice being present. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfectly present all the time. That's not possible. The goal is to be present more often, to catch yourself when you drift away, and to gently bring yourself back. Every time you do this, you're strengthening your ability to live in the now. As you start to practice living in the present moment, you might run into some challenges. That's normal. Let's talk about some common obstacles and how to overcome them. One big challenge is our habit of constant distraction. We're used to always having something to do, watch, or listen to. Being present might feel boring at first. If you feel this way, try to stick with it. As you practice, you'll start to notice the richness and depth of the present moment. You'll find that real life is far more interesting than any distraction. Another obstacle is dealing with difficult emotions. Sometimes we avoid the present moment because it's uncomfortable. Maybe we're feeling anxious, or sad, or angry. It's tempting to try to escape these feelings by losing ourselves in thought or distraction. But being present doesn't mean you have to like every moment. It means being with what is, even when it's tough. As you practice this, you'll find that you become better at handling difficult emotions. They pass more quickly when you don't resist them. You might also worry that being present means you can't plan for the future or learn from the past. But that's not true at all. When you're grounded in the present, you can think about the past or future in a more balanced, productive way. You're not lost in regret or anxiety. You're consciously choosing to reflect or plan, and then returning to the now. Sometimes, our own thoughts can be the biggest obstacle. We might have a voice in our head saying things like, "This isn't working," or "I'm not good at this." When this happens, try to just notice these thoughts without judging them. They're just thoughts, not facts. You can acknowledge them and then gently bring your attention back to the present moment. Remember, overcoming these obstacles is part of the practice. Each time you notice you've drifted away and bring yourself back, you're getting better at living in the present. As you continue to practice living in the present moment, you'll start to notice some amazing changes in your life. These changes might be small at first, but they can add up to a big transformation over time. One of the first things you might notice is that you feel calmer and less stressed. When you're fully in the present moment, you're not worrying about the future or regretting the past. You're just here now. This can bring a deep sense of peace and contentment. You might also find that you enjoy things more. When you're really present, you can fully experience the good things in life. A beautiful sunset, a delicious meal, a conversation with a friend. These can all become richer and more satisfying when you're fully there to experience them. Being present can also improve your relationships. When you're really listening to someone, really paying attention to them, they can feel it. This kind of presence can deepen your connections with others and help you understand them better. You might notice that you become better at handling challenges. When you're present, you can respond to what's actually happening, not to your fears or assumptions about what might happen. This can make you more effective at solving problems and dealing with difficult situations. Your work or studies might improve too. When you're able to focus fully on what you're doing without getting distracted by worries or daydreams, you can be more productive and creative. Even your physical health might benefit. When you're present in your body, you're more likely to notice what it needs. You might make better choices about food, exercise, and rest. Remember, these changes don't happen overnight. Living in the present moment is a practice, and like any practice, it takes time. But every moment you spend being present is a step towards a more peaceful, joyful, and fulfilling life. As you continue on this journey, be patient and kind with yourself. Celebrate the small victories. Every time you notice you've drifted away and bring yourself back to the present, that's a win. Every moment of presence is a gift you give to yourself and to the world around you. When you start living more in the present moment, something amazing happens. Not only does your life change, but you start to have a positive impact on the world around you. It's like dropping a pebble in a pond. The ripples spread out, touching everything around them. Think about how it feels to be around someone who's really present with you. They're not checking their phone every few minutes or obviously thinking about something else. They're right there with you, fully engaged. It feels good, doesn't it? That's the gift you give to others when you practice presence. When you're more present, you become a better listener. You pick up on things you might have missed before. This can make you more understanding and compassionate. You might find that your relationships improve with family, friends, coworkers, even strangers you meet throughout your day. Being present can also make you a more effective leader, whether that's at work, in your community, or in your family. When you're grounded in the now, you make better decisions. You're more aware of what's really going on, not just what you think is going on. You're better at spotting opportunities and solving problems creatively. Your calmness and focus can be contagious. Have you ever noticed how one stressed out person can make a whole room feel tense? Well, the opposite is also true. When you're calm and present, you can help others feel more grounded too. By living in the present moment, you're not just changing your own life. You're contributing to a more mindful, peaceful world. And in these challenging times, that's something we all need. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but where do I start? Don't worry, I've got you covered. Here are some simple, practical steps you can take to start living more in the present moment, starting today. First, set reminders. Put sticky notes around your home or workplace with words like breathe or now. Set alarms on your phone to remind you to take a moment and be present. These little prompts can help you remember to come back to the present moment throughout your day. Try the 5 senses exercise. Whenever you remember, take a moment to notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This quickly brings you into the present moment. Practice mindful breathing. Several times a day, take a few deep breaths. Really feel the air moving in and out of your body. This is a simple but powerful way to anchor yourself in the present. Do one thing at a time. Instead of multitasking, try to focus fully on one task. When you're eating, just eat. When you're talking to someone, just talk to them. When you're working, just work. This might feel strange at first, but it's a great way to practice presence. Use everyday activities as mindfulness practice. When you're brushing your teeth, taking a shower, or washing dishes, try to be fully present with what you're doing. Feel the sensations. Notice the details. Start a gratitude practice. Each day, take a moment to think of 3 things you're grateful for. Really feel the gratitude. This helps you appreciate the present moment more. Remember, you don't have to do all of these at once. Start with 1 or 2 that appeal to you. The goal is progress, not perfection. As we come to the end of our time together, I want to remind you that living in the present moment is a journey, not a destination. It's not about being perfectly present all the time. That's not possible for anyone. It's about being present more often, noticing when you've drifted away, and gently bringing yourself back. There will be days when it feels easy to stay present, and days when it feels impossible. That's okay. Every time you catch yourself lost in thought and bring your attention back to the present, you're strengthening your presence muscle. It's like going to the gym. Every rep counts, even if you can't see the results right away. Be patient and kind with yourself as you practice. Don't get discouraged if you find your mind wandering a lot at first. That's normal. The important thing is that you're making an effort to be more present in your life. Remember why you're doing this. Living in the present moment isn't just about feeling calmer or being more productive, although those are great benefits. It's about fully experiencing your life. It's about being awake and aware for all the moments, big and small, that make up your days. As you continue on this journey, you might find that your whole perspective on life starts to shift. Things that used to bother you might not seem so important anymore. You might find more joy in simple things. You might feel more connected to the people around you and to the world as a whole. We've covered a lot in these 10 minutes. We've talked about what it means to live in the present moment, why it's so important, and how you can start practicing it in your daily life. We've explored the challenges you might face and the amazing benefits you can experience. But here's the most important thing to remember. The power to change your life is available to you right now, in this very moment. You don't need to wait for anything or anyone. You can start living more fully, more presently, right here, right now. So take a deep breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice what you can see and hear around you. This moment, right now, is your life. And when you're fully present for it, it can be absolutely amazing. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope these ideas will help you live a more present, more fulfilling life. Remember, every moment is a new opportunity to be present. Your journey starts now.